Good afternoon and welcome to Live at 5:55 with Joseph. So I hope you're having an awesome Saturday. You know, I've been spending the day moving some stuff and clearing the stuff out, giving it away, donating and such. Doesn't that feel good to do that? You know, and then once we got done with that, we had to move some stuff from one area to another and got that all done, situated, organized. It just feels good. And then I ended up spending some time outside here at the cabin, at the ranch, and just putzing around, really, just doing burning some leaves and such, and just cleaning up and getting rid of some anthills. And it's just one of those days, you know, it's got cool temperatures, football's on, and it just feels good. And, you know, today I want to talk about that happiness is a decision that we make. And I had somebody talk to me the other day, and they said, you know, there's no way to be as happy as you are all the time. And that just made me laugh. Because I'm not happy all the time. You know, I think it was my friend Joel Osteen who said, he was in an interview one time and they said to him, you know, how can you always be so upbeat? How can you always be so positive every time you talk, every time we hear about you, everything you write? Like, how is that you can always be like that? Don't you ever have a bad day? Don't you ever have a day that you're just down and that you're, you know, angry or crabby or something? And he said, he started laughing and he said, absolutely. I just don't write about those days. You know, and I think I've heard somebody else had said that before and stuff too, but that's where I heard it from. You know, my life is the exact same way. I'm not always upbeat like I am here and stuff. You know, but what happens, you know, like earlier today or last night, I was in this funk, this crabby mood. And so, you know, I just go with it. But here's what happens. Here's a couple things I know about that. I know that happiness is a decision. You know, to feel happy, to feel grateful, to feel blessed is a decision. And sometimes I just don't feel like being that way. And I'm sure you're the exact same way, right? So there's times like last night where I didn't feel like shifting everything into happiness and things like that. I just wanted to be crabby for a while. But here's what I know. If I get in that mode of being crabby, whatever I start thinking about, whatever I let my thoughts go to, it starts disasterizing, it starts, you know, just crushing them in, imploding them, things like that. So when I'm in that mode, I keep my view really, really broad. I just look at the things, you know, that are happening, and I don't go into depth with them. You know, I just allow myself to just be at like surface level, kind of. I guess that's a good way of saying that. And just go through that crabby mode, go through that mode of being angry, go through that mode of being frustrated, go through that mode of whatever it is. You know, it's part of being human. One of the things that every person I work with, I tell them, you know, we don't hide our emotions. That's not growing. That's not personal development. You know, for a long time in life, I tried to hide that sadness. And it came out in alcohol, and it came out in gambling, and it came out in overeating, and it came out in all different ways. You know, and then I learned these tools as I learned and I grew. You know, as I grow, I know, right? As I know, I grow. There you go. So as I go through this, when I'm in that place of that, where I'm just feeling crabby, frustrated, things like that, you know, it's a time to just kind of stay flat with things, you know, not deep dive into the things I'm trying to be, do, have, give, create, and experience in my life. I just stay very, very vague. So that then the times when I'm happy, you know, because that'll last for so long. And you're probably like that too, where you get in that mood or that mode and you're going through that. And at some point it gets tiring and you come out of that. If you're stuck, if you ever feel like you get stuck in that mode, reach out to me, because when that happens, there's something else going on. You know, whether I'm working with a realtor, a business owner, sales team, you know, multi-level marketing person, anybody doing their own company, anybody that's trying to expand and grow, stay-at-home moms with all of the, you know, like you are so underappreciated as stay-at-home moms and such, with all that you do and such, you know, and whatever it is, singles, you know, if you're looking for that relationship, you know, it can get frustrating at times. It can get like, right? And being in a relationship can get the exact same dang way. So if you're in that mode, if you get stuck in that mode, we got to do something about that. We got to do something to help you make a shift in that. But to spend some time in that mode of feeling like that is absolutely normal. You know, and so first thing to do there is give yourself permission to be there. Give yourself permission to be crabby. Give yourself permission to feel frustrated. Give yourself permission to be impatient. Whatever that feeling is, it's allowing that feeling so we don't get stuck in it. Because when we block it, it grows just like cancer does. You know, that if when we try to push it down, it just grows. It's kind of like I just did this today when I was burning stuff. I put got the fire going a little bit, put a bunch of papers on top of it. You know, and you could see from the smoke, it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter underneath until it inflames. That's what so many people do, is they try to push that down. And by pushing it down, they don't get to process it. And so something happens and it builds and it builds. And all of a sudden they flare up. You know, I talked yesterday about guilt and about there's no real assistance that we get out of feeling guilty. But when we have those explosions like that, then we feel bad and we have to apologize. And you know, if we haven't mastered that letting go of guilt, we have guilt that we have to deal with. Where if we just allow ourselves, hey Ken, great to see you, brother. If we allow ourselves to just feel that emotion of whether it be frustration, the crabbies, you know, upset, impatient, whatever it is, just allow yourself to feel that, but stay very vague when you're looking at areas of your life. And then once you get to a point of where it's like, okay, you get tired of that, you have a crabby day, and then it's like, okay, I just don't want to feel like that anymore. Then we make that shift and we get back. When you get back into that positive, when you get back into that gratitude, that blessed feeling, that happiness, whatever level that is for you, that's the time to get specific. That's the time to go into those things you want to be, do, have, give, create, and experience in more detail, because you're coming at it from a higher vibration. You're coming at it from a higher level of living. So I hope this is helpful to you. And just list, hey, Tajender, just list one thing today. List one thing. You know, one emotion that you recognize, maybe not even right now, but what's one emotion in your past that you've recognized where you try to push it down rather than just allowing it to be? You know, what's one area of your life? I'll say it again. What's one area of your life where you have, what emotion is it that you have a tendency to want to push down and ignore or shift right away into something else? I spent a lot of years in my life trying to, as soon as a emotion came up that wasn't positive, you know, awesome, exciting, things like that, I would try to shift it right away, shift it. And what I realized is it wasn't a real shift. It wasn't real living, because that emotion of crabby, that emotion of frustration, that emotion of disappointment, that emotion of impatience, that emotion of whatever it is coming up for us to process through it. And the way to process through it, you know, I used to look at that too. You're welcome to Agenda. The way to process through it is, instead of trying to shift it right away, is just feel that emotion, set in that it's not going to kill you. It's not going to trap you for the rest of your life. It just allow it to process through you and be okay with that. Because that's the quickest way to start moving beyond that. And I'm telling you, I talked yesterday in the Shame live at 5:55 I did about the book Life's Lessons that I did, you know, where I started, instead of looking at why is this happening to me? Why is my life like this? Why does everything continue to pile up on me? Why does, you know, me, all of that stuff, you know, poor me. Is when I got into enough pain and I started looking at different avenues, and I found that avenue of life happens for me and not to me. And when I take the judgment out of things happening, there's no good or bad, right or wrong, fair or unfair, just unjust, and I just allow it to be what it is, it teaches me something. This is the exact same way. You know, maybe you're like I used to be, where you get in a crabby mood, or you get frustrated, impatient, and then you turn on the ass-kicking machine on yourself. Instead of that, what if you just look at that thing as it's happening for you? There's a purpose in that happening for you. And allow that to show up for you, and take the judgment out of it. We're human beings. You know, we're doing the best we can do. The most overlooked word in the entire dictionary, in my opinion, is the word practice. That we practice. The best we ever get to in this lifetime is practice. We're continuing to practice, and we're continuing to practice, and we're continuing to practice. You know, and some of my mentors, like Bob Proctor, who's been doing this for like 64 years or something like that, he continues to practice. Tony Robbins continues to practice. Joseph Drillshagen continues to practice. You continue to practice, and the best we're ever going to get is to continue practicing. The moment somebody thinks they're a master is when the learning stop, and they're locked at that level. until they open that back up to practice. So just practice it. Just practice being who you are and being okay and allowing yourself to be okay with that. Life is so much easier. That's what we talk, or what I talk about when I say about going with the flow, going with the stream. When we go into our emotions and we try to adjust them and shift them, and this is okay and that one's not, and I'm not going to allow this, and we're paddling upstream against a very strong current. And we get fatigued and we get more crabby, and then we end up blowing up and doing things we don't want to do and all kinds of crap like that. Where if we just let it go, it just carries us with the stream. And if there's a lesson in it, it'll show up. And if there's a process of that, doesn't have to stay as long. The process of being in that, in a crabby mood or this or that, it won't stay as long when we allow it to be okay in our life. So I hope this was helpful to you. If it was, just leave in here, like I said, a comment on what emotion is it for you that's one that you've tried trapping down below before. Or what's the one emotion, maybe do it this way, put that as one and list it as the one that you've tried pushing down, or put a comment in here. What's the one emotion you have that you're okay with other than happiness? What's the one emotion that you allow yourself? Maybe let's do that instead. What's the emotion that you allow yourself to feel? The easiest one for you to allow yourself to feel. Because once we get a grasp and insight on that, once we get an awareness of that, it's easier to spread that to the other ones. So I hope this was helpful to you. The other thing that I have out there today is I talked a couple times about the Ignite program, which is an on-demand 4-week program that is the most powerful program available. You will start noticing amazing insights, amazing shifts, amazing opportunities opening up for you within the very first day of starting this. And I put it at an investment point that's affordable to everyone. And I'll share this with you too. I shared this story before when I was growing up. I watched my entire youth, I watched my parents struggle financially, and I saw how that spread into other areas of their relationship and their life and their family and all of that across even their health and well-being. And I watched that happen, and then I carried those same, knowing it was wrong, knowing that wasn't right, but not knowing any better, I carried those same principles and conditions and that same conditioning into my adulthood and struggled for years financially. My purpose in creating the Ignite program was to help people move away from that. See, my parents, they didn't have tools like that available to them that they knew of. Now I wanted to make sure every living, breathing person has that opportunity in front of them, and it's set at an investment point that almost anybody can afford. So check out, I got the link in there. It's igniteprogramonline.com. Click the link and at least go look at it for yourself. You owe yourself enough, that much to do that. And just, like I said, just enjoy the rest of your day here. Exactly how you are is how you were crafted to be. It's exactly how you're supposed to be. Even things you may have judgment against yourself on, it's exactly how you're supposed to be. And I know that because if you weren't, you wouldn't be that way. So have an awesome day, and God bless.